Hey, fellow tennis nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Tennis Nerd Podcast. This is the third time I'm joined by the legend in the game, Rick Macci. We're going to talk about the upcoming season. We're going to talk about the end of this season and other stuff. He's just back from the tennis court as always. Thanks for joining me, Rick.
No, I'm glad to be here. It's like when Natalie asked me to get on the podcast again, I definitely have to make the time because we had a lot of fun last time.
Yeah, always fun talking to you. It's always fun talking tennis. So what's going on in your tennis life? You just came back from the court, like coaching sessions with pro clients or with like more amateur clients. What's up?
Yeah, no, it's like a lot of juniors, and but the last one I had, first off, great question. The last one I have is Sophia Valinsky, one of the top 12 and under uh, players in Europe. We talked about her before. I not only personally coach her, I represent her with Edge Management. They're from Ukraine, and I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I've never had a player so moldable with such upside. It's like a piece of clay. I mean, I can take this as far as I want because of the athleticism, the ballet movement, just the overall stuff to work with. And I feel if I can't make this girl or help this girl become one of the best in the world, I did a bad job. She has all the ingredients to do this. She just turned 12, so there's a lot to go, but the upside is incredible. And any coach likes to work with someone when they keep coming back for more. We can go 4 or 5 hours, and she'll go, "Can we go more?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want to see, right? You want to see someone who loves tennis and loves to work, because otherwise, how are you going to get anywhere?
Yeah, but that's like another, and then if you have the talent or you have the thoroughbred and they have other attributes and you can get great biomechanics on someone with that attitude, the sky's the limit. I just posted on Instagram her standing on a ball, to be on balance and juggling. You got to go on there. Anybody watching this should go on. It's kind of hard to do, and I told her mom, I said, that not only trains the hand eye and the coordination, it trains the mind. And that's what this game's all about.
Yeah, the mind is needs to be there, and that seems to be the case with this young girl. So you must be pretty excited that you have you have the dough in your hands. Now it's about time to kind of you have really some skin in the game here, yeah, with this project.
Yeah, no question about it. I, it's exciting simply because she's 12, she's not 17. So I can stay on the details like a woodpecker, keep pecking. If the door's closed, I'll go through the window. If the window's closed, I'll try the chimney. I'll just keep pecking. But when you have someone that young, okay, kind of like Darwin Blanche when I had him at 6, 7, 8, 9, the technical part is easier because there's no bad muscle memory, baked in extra crispy, and I can kind of reprogram the reflexes easier. So right now it's all about technique, trying to get the serve optimal and off the ground. But she's bringing so much to the table. I love it.
Yeah, that's great, and it must be nice. The earlier you get them, the better, right? You want the really fresh salmon, right? So you can actually work on the stuff that's not going to be there from the beginning. Because we talked before, about Coco Gauff and like her forehand and stuff that you could do to improve it, and it must be better to get as early as possible to be able to do kind of your magic and to work on the biomechanics with your team.
Absolutely. Some of the best strokes are kids that are here 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't mean you're putting them on a champion, but they're going to hit the ball a little more optimal if they buy in, but there's no muscle memory. So it's easy to kind of shadow and go slow, so it's easier when they're younger to get more optimal technique, okay? Because let's face it, one bad grip or one bad backswing or something funky, if you hit millions of balls, you can master garbage. But at the end of the day, it's still garbage. So you got to be careful, and that's what I'm trying to do. I just want her to be so technically sound because she can run and stop on a dime. She's agile, great work ethic, great kid. She's like my own daughter, even though my other daughter's right next door. Sorry about that. Okay, so my other daughter's right here. I love this kid just because it's a feel good story. And at this stage of my career, like I said, I'm not just changing someone's strokes or career, I've changed someone's life. And to me, that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, it has extra juice to the whole story, really. Like that is a story from also outside the tennis court. I think that that really helps your motivation. I'm sure. So when you look at someone like this player, are the key fundamentals you think that needs to be there for you to move to the next step, like in her career? Like what are
First
you
off,
working on mainly to focus?
I love the question. You know, when I saw a video of her at 10, because Edge Management, the company I'm with, I was looking at some other players and I noticed the movement, okay, and the way she could stop and start, okay. It wasn't on the outside because her swings were sloppy and big and she had very good feel of the ball, but I just, the movement, because I just feel if you can move, especially in today's game, because movement, as you know, is a premium. If you can't get there, you can't deliver. And if you can't deliver, you're going to miss. But if you can get there quicker, okay, you can deliver quality off of quality, like Alcaraz and Djokovic. They can make better shots off of tougher shots than maybe the rest of the world. And that little edge is the difference. And what I love about Sophia, she likes to chip, she likes to drop, she likes to come in. You know, I'm trying to get bullets off both sides, you know. So she's going to play kind of like Barty or Mahova, except I'm going to get her a little more firepower, you know. But she's a great athlete. So I look at the movement first and then the competitiveness. You know, she's so brutally competitive, like everybody I had Venus, Serena, Capriati, Roddick, Sharapova. They would die to win a point. You can teach that, but if it's kind of there, listen, she's appreciative the sun's shining. And to get an opportunity to be working with myself every single day, and she's like my own daughter, you got to understand, I can get her to run through a brick wall. But I look at the movement, and then if they already have that work ethic and how competitive they are. So if that's kind of there, I don't want to say anything's easy. It's just easier. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I look at first. But then again, Sharapova, she wasn't a jackrabbit. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of tell the dad, stay near the baseline, don't back up, cut the court, you deal the cards. If you got to play defense, you know, you're in trouble, you know, especially when she played Serena. So everything, but this is open ended. And that's what I like as a coach because it's like a piece of clay. And if I can't make her a champion, I'll just be flat out. I did a bad job. But uh, she's going to be a champion.
Let's hope. It sounds good. Sounds very promising. Do you think like the women's game still has a little bit of a hole where there's like room for this type of player to bring in more of that kind of Barty game you mentioned, like more variety, more slice, more drop shots, more going to the net, mixing it up a little bit than just striking big from the back of the court?
Well, first off, I think every coach should try to emphasize that, which I'm sure a lot do. The problem is in junior tennis with the girls, you know, you just kind of rip the ball, you hit it hard, you know, you might have a better serve, and it's a tough sell. It's the hardest thing. Listen, a lot of people they come to the net and they get past, they ain't coming there the rest of the month, you know? So it's a mindset. The more you fail, the more you're going to succeed, the more volleys you miss, the more you're going to make, the more drop shots you miss, the more you're going to make. No one's missed more than Alcaraz as a kid. That's why he makes more. It's a tough sell because girls want the W a little bit more. You know, it's a little different sell, you know, and I'm not saying who has the most variety or who has the most diversification is going to be the best player. But I think it's something every coach should try to teach the kids, you know, instead of just keeping the ball in play, you know, hitting the ball in zone 4 or 5 with topspin. You got to deliver the goods, but if you can teach someone to change the pace and have a great chip, not be afraid to volley and drop shot, you can match up better against the Sabalenkas. You even saw Coco in the first round of her match at the Open. That girl was slicing and dicing and chipping and ripping and dipping, and it's hard to get a rhythm, but it's a tough sell. But everybody should look at Barty. Forget the athleticism because she was, you know, very athletic, but she could diffuse power and make you uncomfortable. And when people get uncomfortable and you get into their head, you got a chance to beat them.
Yeah, I think that's part of the mental game and part of the strategy, and everything needs to be there, of course. But do you see, maybe like what I see is that tennis is evolving very fast. So like the players are so good now from all areas of the court that maybe you go back 10, 20 years, it's obviously been a big evolution in terms of how strong the players are also on the lower levels these days.
No question about more on the men's side, because as we talked before, Alcaraz has not only transcended the game of, throwing in a drop shot, more well-rounded and stuff like that. He's transcending how people teach the game. It's okay to drop shot, where before, if you missed it, it's like, what are you doing? So the game is changing. The women, it's going to take a little longer because let's face it, power trumps everything. Go back in time and look, other than maybe a Barty or a few people like that, if you have firepower, that trumps everything because it feeds into the mobility or the movement, okay, of the player in women's tennis. So I think that's always going to be the calling card, taking the ball early, right off the bounce, cleaner strokes. The women don't play with as much spin. When you hit the ball up the line, it's usually money in the bank. But if you could sprinkle in the volley and the drop shot at key moments, 4 on the third, that could be the difference in winning and losing a Grand Slam. So it is evolving. And if someone, even Barty was at the top, and more people, who knows, maybe more juniors are kind of emulating that. And I try to teach that to everybody, but it's the hardest sell in junior tennis. They'd rather die slowly at the baseline than come to the net and meet sudden death. You know what I mean? But it's junior development, not junior final destination. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. So I think any coach that's watching this, if you can stress that and whatever you can get out of that, making a player more well-rounded, that's really the job of a coach.
Yeah, that seems to be the keys, obviously. But do you think, how early should you really start looking at the mental game? Like, can you start already at 12? Do you need to wait for some maturity in the other aspects of life, or should you go straight to it, like how to work on the mental strengths from as early as possible?
I go straight to it. Listen, you know, a lot of times when I give speeches, I give a speech every day, 10, 15 minutes to all the kids. There could be a 6-year-old there, or the number one junior in the world, or an 18-year-old. And I talk a lot about the mental game, and I talk a lot more about life lessons, because the mental game, trying to remember to forget, and that's a big thing in tennis. I taught, this is the wild card, because I ask the kids all the time about this. How many of you guys lost to someone and you had a better serve, you had a better forehand, a better backhand, and you lost? And all of them raised their hand, because the other guy gets there, he just loves to run, sweat, and shut up, okay? And he can be on to the next point. And having the ability to forget is the leader in the clubhouse. And you're a performer. You got to enjoy the battle. And it's hard to enjoy the battle if you're losing 6-0, 5-0. But I tell everybody, if you were losing 6-0, 5-0 and you were playing Federer, would you still be having fun? And they all said yes. But if they were playing someone 2 years younger, they said no. I said, but wait, you're still losing 6-0, 5-0. You see, so this is and everybody has a breaking point. Everybody gets nervous. It's how you handle stuff. Some people play better in pressure. In practice. So I start with the mental early on, and I talk to the kids about going to the fence, taking the towel, 20 seconds, flip it in your mind. It happened 20 years ago. And that's what I loved about Sharapova. I'm telling you, it freaked me out. To this day, I never had a young player right there every point. Even though there was holes in the movement and the forehand, it was scary. Now, whether that's environmental, whether that's your upbringing a lot, Eastern European, there's many factors that go into that. But that, and Kenan had that. If you can do that, okay, or do it better than most people, that's one area you don't have to worry about. And that's what I liked about Venus and Serena. They were all about the competition already. I knew they were bulletproof. That's why I went all in. So that's a big, big thing. Then if you could run and fight and you get good strokes, top tens around the corner.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. But how much do you think it's like related to personality? Like you have a very unique personality always on your hands, and then how do you get to that point where they're comfortable playing matches and enjoy that competitive spirit? Like not everyone does it seems like.
Yeah, you got to understand, the personality part, the parents want the kid to be rougher and tougher and mentally stronger, and then they maybe entitle them too much, even though they're doing it out of love. Or they could be making them softer, even though their heart's in the right place. And Richard Williams had that balance. He knew when to squeeze and he knew when to hug. That's why I love the guy. So it's a very tough balance the parents have to understand. Unfortunately, most of them do not understand this part. They think it's X's and O's and forehand and backhand. But if you're putting it on someone mentally weak, they're not going to deliver under pressure. And I get so many emails and texts, and people always say, can you help them on the mental part? If they buy in. Even many college players I work with, and they're 18, 19, 20. It's a skill. You know what I mean? It's a skill. That's why people are very good. A lot of people are very good hitters, but they're not good players. There's a big difference. You see someone hit, oh, they look really good. But all you're seeing is hit the ball. Hitting and playing is a different sport. And people got to understand that. It gives you a snapshot. If they're hitting really bad, okay, that doesn't mean they're going to play amazing. So you got to be careful of that. But this is the most important thing. Focusing on being a performer, loving the battle. More people are smiling now. You see that in Ben Shelton. And this is the Alcaraz effect. Everybody does it different. Rafa was more like the Spanish bull. And Federer was just like, I'm not even sweating out here. So I'm just saying, everybody feels it. But, with Alcaraz now being the leader in the clubhouse and greatness, around the corner, he's changing how people even do things. And his effect is really helping people, in my opinion, handle pressure. But it has to come from the heart. It can't be a fake smile or fake enjoyment, or that could probably make it worse.
No, I think you have to embrace your personality. You've seen that with players who try to maybe imitate a certain player for a while and or find like a personality that's not them, and it doesn't work. So I think
No.
that makes a lot of sense. When it
But
comes
there
to
are common
Alcaraz,
threads. Listen, there are common threads you can pick up on when Nadal gets up from the seat and runs back there after playing 3 hours, or some of the rituals that these people do. They're like a machine. And that's the difference with juniors. They're all over the map, and I said, you want to be a pro? Start acting like one. I know that sounds serious, but the one thing you got control over is attitude. You don't have control over winning and losing. The strokes and strategy takes time, but you have control over attitude, and how you want to go about doing this. I spend a lot of time on this, and I have with everybody, that everybody's aware of, explaining this, but then getting them to buy in. You know what I mean? No one's perfect. No one's going undefeated. You're going to fail, but greatness doesn't go off kilter as much as the rest of the world.
yeah, that's true. When it comes to greatness and Alcaraz specifically, what do you think about his like end of this season? It's been a little bit topsy-turvy compared maybe to what people were thinking. What's your take, and how do you think that affects him for next year?
No, listen, I believe even more. And the reason why, because he's 20, I talked long ago, 3 years ago, about where this was going. And listen, he's not going undefeated. And also, if I back the truck up, forget losing to Dimitrov, but they're playing, and I'm not making excuses. They're playing indoors, and the guy served 88% first serve. I don't think that's going to happen at Roland Garros or outdoors. Okay, and I'm not saying, listen, it is what it is. Anybody can beat anybody. I mean, he's lost to people 100. Anybody can beat anybody in men's tennis. It's so close. The serves are so big. Indoors is a whole different dynamic, like grass. So no, nothing surprised me whatsoever. It surprised other people just because I'm aware that that's going to happen. I mean, I can go back in time. John Isner beat Federer on clay. I mean, I could start pulling rabbits out of the hat, and people go, oh, because we're all caught up in today, in the moment. And people that think something's going to happen to this guy, no way. Here's why. He loves to play. Everything around him has changed, especially his bank account. Nothing's going to change. He loves pressure. He's human. he's going to lose. Okay, he's going to lose. But no, I think the best thing for him is to have these type of losses. And that gets you more alert, high alert. Maybe you can't play as fancy free and maybe loose on a few points. See, the problem with Alcaraz, it's not a problem because that's his greatness. He has a lot of options where some people have mastered vanilla. And there's a few more things that go through his head. Do I chip it, rip it, dip it? Am I going to throw in the drop? Do I take a chance and come in? So there's more diversification in his game, what he's already complete at this age. So that can also lead to a few less points. And as we talked about before, one break of serve, the match is over.
Yeah, and do you think maybe like if you look back at like Federer, for example, he matured later, but also because his game was quite well-rounded compared to maybe many other players, and also very aggressive. And it's kind of some similarities in Alcaraz. So I am personally incredibly impressed how early he has matured, and other players should be scared that if he gets a few more years, he's just gonna keep adding to his arsenal, and then like what happens then?
Absolutely. You look at Djokovic when he first came on, look at all, he changed a lot. He's done better in the middle and later in his career. The problem now with Alcaraz, and you got guys like me saying if he doesn't get hurt, he could be one of the greatest of all time. And I know that's a crazy statement because we're like normalizing greatness but I said he could be. I didn't say he will be. So if he doesn't get injured, but he's gotten so much recognition by me and really everybody about everything. He's a generational talent. Like the world, I'm telling you, that the world's never seen this. And then when you start saying he's, Djokovic, Agassi, Nadal, and Federer all wrapped in one, a lot of people don't like that. I'm just telling you, this is what I do for a living. And I wouldn't even go there if I didn't think he had the mental part. And the movement is off the chart. And all the creativity. There's just so much there to his game, barring injury. But he's gotten so much at a young age. Now people, anytime he stubs his toe, they're going to start saying he's going to have a mental breakdown or he's burned out. I mean, listen, I get all that. But listen, he ain't going anywhere barring injury. The best is yet to come. Stays injury free. I could see 2 or 3 slams next year. I mean, this guy's the real deal. And there's a little more of a vacuum, as you know. You got Joker, the Serbian GOAT, who's not going anywhere, the greatest player ever to hold a racket. He's not going anywhere. But the rest, it's a jump ball because they don't have the pedigree yet or the experience, kind of like that on the women's side where, there's not proven champions yet. So every draw is kind of wide open. So the best is yet to come for Carlos.
Yeah, let's hope. I'm a big fan. When you said Novak, do you think he's gonna be his main competitor then for the next year? And how many slams will Novak win? Will it take 2 each?
Yeah, well, listen, I think the thing about Djokovic, he can win on every surface. So, where maybe you knew Federer wasn't going to win on clay per se, especially with Rafa at his peak. So when you get someone like Novak, okay, he just doesn't beat himself. And he doesn't look like he's going to. You know what I mean? His game's a little more, I don't want to say it's not as advantageous, obviously, as Alcaraz, but it's not. So he's not going to give you as many presents, and he's not going to beat himself. And the thing about it, because he's 36, everybody that plays him knows he's not going to beat himself. Even if you grab a set, they know he can come back. When you grab a set maybe against Alcaraz or someone else, you still feel you have a chance. Listen, just because they're pros in the top 10 in the world, they're human beings, and they still think. So Joker's not going anywhere. If he doesn't get injured, I can see 4 or 5 more in the oven for this guy, mainly because he wants to. He takes care of his body. He just doesn't beat himself.
He beats everyone else, it seems like, except maybe Alcaraz. So that's going to be the interesting rivalry for next year. I mean, American tennis seems to be doing great. Like we had maybe the most exciting guy, at least when it comes to the energy on the court and the smile you mentioned, Ben Shelton. What do you see in the kind of crystal ball for Mr. Ben coming years?
First off, I love this question. 3 years ago, we have a $10,000 prize money tournament every weekend. So we have 52 tournaments a year on the weekend. $10,000. It's called the Battle of Boca. We get 100 to 175 players. 3 years ago, he lost in the second round. So that shows you the strength of the field. Not that I'm saying it's stronger than the U.S. Open or the Australian, but it just shows you it's not where you start, it's where you finish. But I saw him. He's a dog, a great competitor, like a pit bull, nasty forehand, but to serve is the wild card. Okay. When you can hit that much firepower, okay, and you can disguise it. And the wild card on that, he's left-handed. So he not only has the daily double, he has the trifecta. He kind of has Ivanisevic, but with more power, you know. And listen, when you can serve that big, you're 5-all with anybody, even if they're better than you off the ground, even if they're better than you in many other areas, like a boxing match. So that alone will give him a reservation, in my opinion, top 10 in the world, always. I think the backhand is good. It's not great. He's changed it. He used to have a bubble loop. Now he's kind of simplified it. He's a good athlete. He's adventurous. So I love his game. Permanent fixture top 10. Okay. But if you're asking me who I think is the best of all the Americans, I feel it's Sebastian Korda. We said this before. I think he has the most upside. You know, Fritz is good. Tiafoe's good. Opelka's going to come back. Tommy Paul's good. All these guys, if something breaks their way, can grab a slam or two. No question. You know, like a Courier, like a Chang, like a Roddick. They can, because there's a vacuum. But I think Korda, you know, is the one, in my opinion, is the most talented. But as you know, the most talented doesn't always mean you're going to be the best. Kyrgios, Monfils, we could go back in time and talk about that. But Korda, mentally, I like where he's at. His serve's going to get bigger. He really understands the geometry of the court. He has one of the best backhands in the world already. His forehand's kind of more like Federer. It's a tighter spin, not as many revolutions. That can cut both ways, you know, depending if you got to kind of defend and grab the ball. But he can chip it short on purpose. A lot of people chip it short accidentally, and he can volley. You know, so I think there's more. He can give people problems as his career unfolds. And the pedigree is amazing because his mom and dad played pro tennis. So he's always going to get that support system there. But American tennis is looking great. And it's right around the corner when one of these guys grab a slam. Let's face it, Alcaraz or Joker gets injured or upset. It's wide open. It really is. Because when you had before Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, and Murray, you kind of look and you go back in time. They were always there, semis and quarters. You know what I mean? It's wide open. But I love Shelton, mainly because with that serve, let's face it, anything's possible.
Yeah. What do you think about his victory celebration?
What about who?
His victory celebration, the phone call.
I love it, and I tell you why. And I tell everybody, if you're going to do that, you got to own it. You know what I mean? He's not, it didn't matter who he's playing. And if they do the reverse hang up phone on the guy, but you got to understand this today's generation. If you look at basketball players and football, and they get a first down and it's like they won the Super Bowl, or a guy makes a 3-pointer. It's like back in the day, you were supposed to do those things. So people celebrate a little bit different. I love it. I think it's good for the game. And you do also, because you just asked me the question, if it, you know, about his celebration. So, but he has to own it. I don't think it's anything more than him loving the game and having fun. And that's why I think he'll handle pressure a little bit better, because it looks like he's having a blast out there besides blasting a serve.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I think tennis needs more drama in general, at least more personality. Like, show your personality. Like Alcaraz is smiling all the time, he's happy. He loves his own shots. You know, he's like looking up at Ferrero when he hits a crazy winner. And like, it's good to show more of yourself. It's an entertainment after all. Like, we're there, they're there for the crowd, right? We're there to watch the battle, right? Would you agree with that, or do you think like in tennis still needs to be very gentlemanly and a bit of old school?
Absolutely. You know, and listen, I think a lot more people, not just because of his serve, they love Ben Shelton now because of his personality. And Francis, you know, he's an entertainer. Tiafoe, that that means a lot, okay, especially if you're looking from a business point of view, endorsements, the smile, the competitiveness, So yeah, we need more of that. And I think because there are more like of those players near the top 10, young kids will imitate that, okay? And I think it's good for the game because it's entertainment.
Talking about entertainment and good for the game, we have Nick Kyrgios. I mean, he hasn't played much this year, if anything at all, like one match or something. What do you think next year? Does he come back? Will we miss him, or his
I,
retirement now happening?
no, I don't know because I don't know him. But
Yeah,
listen, uh, if he wanted to come back, my advice would be like play every day on grass. Don't play any other tournaments, and then go to Wimbledon or go to Queens, maybe then Wimbledon. Because with his game, points are shorter, everything's quicker. The serve, the imagination, he returns well. That's what I'd recommend. Uh, but it depends if he wants to do it. Let's face it, if he wants to do something really, really bad, he can beat anybody in the world. But that has to come from with him. So he's holding all the cards, but I wouldn't count on it, but that's up to him. Never count out someone with that much athleticism and that good a serve.
I agree. When it comes to other players, do you have any like wild cards or anything interesting do you think that can pop next year?
Absolutely. I said it before. Sinner is going to be one of the best players in the world. Oh, he is already. I can see him being in that mix always one, two, three, four in the world. And he's not going anywhere simply because he's so authoritative off the ground. He probes in and out of the baseline like a boxer. He changed his serve a couple years ago, which blew me away because it was a liability. I studied it a lot. And next time I saw him, it's like, whoa. So whoever went in there and did reconstructive surgery, it changed the whole rhythm and everything, and that will get better. And he's confident. He's a great competitor. So I would put Sinner in the mix. I know Rune. I really like his ability, but there's a lot of injury. The mental part seems there's a lot of things going on there, but he definitely has the ability. Joker's not going anywhere, but I put Corda in that mix, and that's nothing against any of the other players. But if you're talking greatness, I'm saying Alcaraz, Sinner, okay, Corda, okay, Joker. I can see them all nestled in there. And I know I'm really having Corda leap over a lot, okay, but this is the way I see his ability, okay, his potential. And there's a lot more that he can do to give people matchup problems. Is that why he can be a dragon slayer? He can really take down a lot of people.
And he also seems to have very strong confidence. When you hear his interviews, he's always like talking about he sees himself as the winner of the tournament. He's always looking to do the max of his career. Right? He's not afraid of anything, and I think that's besides moving a bit like Roger. His movement is amazing to me. I think he's very smooth mover, not very efficient. I think that's impressive that he's so confident as well.
Yeah, no, his movement is genetic. I mean, you can move very smooth and still be a bad player, but he has tremendous gifts. And you're right about the confidence, but that comes from the heart. Anybody can say anything, but it's from the heart. You know what I mean? And when you feel that, even if you lose first round or whatever, like he said at Wimbledon, I'm one of the favorites, and he's never done anything, but he meant it. So a lot of people like with football games, we're definitely going to win, even if they lose. If you feel it, a lot of times you don't voice it to the public or to the media. But no, I love his attitude. And let's face it, when he gets more and more confidence, and you know what that's like, when you get the big C, you just feel like you should win instead of hoping to win. You expect to win. Not that they don't now, but it's a different level. Just like Joker, okay, he just thinks like he's invincible. But we can't relate to that because we'll never be able to relate to that mentality because we're talking the greatest male ever to hold the stick. So it's a different thing how these guys are wired in any sport when you're the greatest of all time. So as you keep doing things in your career, you get confidence. And let's face it, when you have confidence, you take it earlier, you take more chances, You don't stress as much. You just, you know you're going to win. You play the big points better because that's a fine line, especially in men's tennis. You're clutch more often. Okay. So, yeah, when these people get the confidence, and there's other people coming down the pike. And when that happens, look out.
When you mentioned Rune there, he seems to have found a new coach. I don't know if this is a short-term solution or whatever it is, but it's Boris Becker, who's maybe out of jail and ready to coach. What do you think of that choice? Do you think that could be a good thing for him to have a Grand Slam champion in his box, or what do you think?
Well, I think time tells all. I think he's gotten to what, five in the world. So there's a lot of things baked in, extra crispy. Movement, competitiveness. Biomechanically, he's not really flawed. I know his forehand can sometimes look a little mechanical. So there's a lot of good things that, listen, you get the five in the world, you're not a hamburger, that young. But let's face it, the injury with the back, that kind of set him off a little bit, which injury that happened to Corda. I just think it's the mental part. If someone can help you with that, and then the strategic, because that's what a travel coach is, on the ATP tour. It's more like managing it, motivation, and more tactics. You're not going to change things technically. You got to take time off and break that down microscopically in practice. And guys that travel, that's not really what they would do per se. And a lot of times, if you were a great player, you still need to have a very broad perspective on everything because you might see it the way you saw it, but that's through your eyes. And you got to look through many, many, many different eyes, and a lot of times coaches don't do that either. They're so set in their way. That might be their way, but that might not be the best way. You know, I always tell people there's not a wrong way or right way. There's a better way. And I tell a lot of people what you may see is different than Rick may see. So I see this very differently also. But Becker could, listen, obviously been there, done that. That means something. But that doesn't, well, time tells all. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the prudent way to see it. When we look at the women's side, when we had Coco Gauff win the U.S. Open, now it was a big breakthrough. What do you think for her in 2024?
First off, I love Coco Gauff. I love the whole family. Olympic sprinter with a rack in her hand. People don't like me saying that, but she is. I'd love to see the 400 meter. I'm putting my money on Coco, but I know it's not track and field. Tennis is stop and start and all that good stuff. Let's talk about Coco and U.S. Open. She almost lost first round. And there was a lot of people, haters, doubters, people saying all kinds of stuff. And I tweeted, it's the best thing ever. Think about it. It's in her back pocket. She found a way to win. Okay, she was uncomfortable. First match, 7 o'clock, Ash Stadium, Billie Jean King, 50 years, equal pay. She's the chosen one. The next Serena, which that's not going to be the case. Okay, there was a lot there. And you're playing someone who gives you no rhythm, and they hit junk, and they're 35. And people are saying, why is this lady even playing? Okay, and she wins the tournament. And she had rough sledding after that. People have to understand, okay, she won on mental toughness. She won on her wheels, running around. Her backhand's always been solid. The forehand, to me, I see the exact same thing. She's a little more confident in that, but she's fast enough to kind of hide it. She's probably not thinking about it. And her slice serve, in my opinion, is trending like the GOAT Serena. She has the best slice serve that I've seen other than Serena Williams. Okay. And she's still 19 years old. So she can bang, get out of a jam. So I think she can win multiple slams, but it's going to get tougher. Okay. Just because when you're feeling a little pressure, I can see the forehand being hit short. Okay. Listen, no one's perfect, but there is a little bump there. Okay. So who knows if she's going to take time off. We talked about maybe getting together and fixing it, but that's a whole different thing. But at the end of the day, Iga is by far the best. She's the mentally strongest, and she's already been there. She has, multiple slams in her back pocket. Sabalenka can play through you, even though mentally she can go in and out. Okay. Rabakina, I love the serve, but she can mentally be a little fragile. I love Mahova. Okay, I love her game. If she can stay injury free, it seems like a lot of things when these people get injured, they kind of disappear. Okay, and there's a vacuum in women's tennis. It's wide open because no one has been there, done that with multiple grand slams. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day when I could go on and on with the names. So it's really just Iga. So it's wide open. There's younger players coming in, and there's no one that's invincible. But Iga would be the one mentally that I think is by far heads above everybody. But she's not going undefeated either. But I love Coco just because of the way she competes. And well, listen, when you can run like that and stop and start, you got a chance against anybody. But if you keep hitting the ball short, that can only last for so long.
Yeah, and you get people like Sabalenka and Swiatek can take advantage of that to name two. And she did mention even in her like winner speech that this was to all the haters, and it seems like players these days they need to really get used to the social media being a part of their life. How has that influenced the game and the players' mental health and their need to be extra strong on the court?
Well, first off, it cuts both ways. I think it depends. Like I said, on someone's podcast, I said the way Venus and Serena were, and their dad, okay, they were bulletproof. They didn't have social media back then. Things didn't bother them. Where someone like Jennifer Capriati, she was sensitive, happy-go-lucky, had normal friends. Okay, she did normal things, which could be good and bad. People now with social media, if you're sensitive, okay, that can get in your head. And sometimes when stuff, as gets in your head, you're dead. You got to get it out of there. You know what I mean? But other people, no, it is what it is. You got to look at it like if they're hating, you must be doing something good. You got to look at it like that. You got to flip it, and that can empower you. But a lot of people are very sensitive, especially, more on the female side, I would say, because everybody wants compliments. People want to say good things. They want to hear good things. They don't want to hear that because it could become mental. But that can fuel a lot of players, okay, to bigger and better things. And Coco not only felt it, she came out and said it. That's why I love this kid. I love that she said that, keep hating. It's going to motivate me. All the doubters. I mean, she might have a better backbone than backhand, to talk like that. But that's part of her greatness. But then again, this dad, high level athlete, mom, high level athlete, her brother, you ready for this? He's the number one quarterback in middle school in the United States. I mean, there's some athleticism in that family. You have no idea. You know what I'm saying? So, but you grew up in that, everybody's kind of rough and tough. So that's her calling card. I just wish that if she had a forehand that was rock solid, I think she could dominate.
Yeah, and I think the mindset is similar to Novak, for example. I mean, he got a lot of shit from the crowds throughout his career, and he seemed to always be able to turn it into fuel and then play even better after that.
Absolutely, and that's a skill. I mean, a lot of guys can do that. Djokovic likes that. Some people, you got to look at it like that. When people are against you, look at it as a compliment. And that's hard. It's hard to do. It's a mindset. And I talk to people all the time about this. It's a life skill. You know what I'm saying? And it's like pressure. You want pressure. Alcaraz wants pressure. You want to be expected to win. Because if you're not, okay, you could be working at Burger King. Nothing against Burger King. You could be working, you're not, you want that. But you got to look at it like that. But a lot of people don't, especially in junior tennis. You know what I mean? Where you're seated, bad loss, person's older. They don't look at it like that. When you get older, your brain matures and all that, so you can reason better. But at the end of the day, you want that. Okay? You want people, when they boo against you or they want you to fail, you got to look at that as a compliment that you're doing a lot of things right because people are noticing you.
Yeah, that's 100% true. When it comes to the Rick Macci life, how are you? What are you working on now besides this Ukrainian wunderkind who's can do big things, you know? But do you have other projects in the pipeline? I bet you do.
Yes, yeah, no, I do. Thank you for asking. First off, uh, we're still putting in a couple more chapters to the billion-dollar mine that I'm doing with Dr. Niva. Okay, she's a clinical psychologist. Okay, I love her to death. Okay, we're working on this project. It's not quite done yet, but it's not only about uh, the game of life. It's about the game of really everything, how this radiates in every direction. And she can go at it from a clinical point of view, and I can go at it not really from a tennis, but just from a life coaching point of view. And the collaboration has been so amazing. We're going to do multiple books together on different subjects. So hopefully in the next 2 months, that's going to come out. It'll be available on Amazon. I'm really excited about it because there's so many good things, and there's like a little notebook in there that you can take notes, and it's really going to help people stay positive, look at things through a different lens, the game of life. So that's in the oven. Uh, my partner, David Meltzer, who I do Game Set Life, okay, we kick off season 3 after Thanksgiving. So we'll be teeing that up again with some incredible guests from all walks of life, Hollywood, the sports world. We have the most amazing guests. David has a better contact point than any of my students. This guy has more contacts and people he brings on the show, but also a docu series that David's gonna kind of help me with Apple TV. That's kind of talking about. I was gonna do something with MGM, but I don't really want to do a reality TV show. I'm not really Ted Lasso. I'd like to do the real thing with just here's what I do. Um, so that's kind of out there. But listen, I just do what I do. As I told you last time, I teach 7 days, and now Sophia Balinska is here all the time. It is 50 hours sometimes and even more because I got to put this thing together besides all the other kids that I want to help go to college. And, you know, um, so I just do what I do. And as I said, I want to do it as long as I can do it. I love being on the tennis court. It was 55 degrees a day. I was a little cold. I'm like a lizard. I've been out here for so long in the heat. When it's 55, I'm freezing. I had a big jacket on and whatever, but it warmed up. So that's kind of what I do. And I like helping a 6-year-old as much as I do Sophia or anybody adult. Uh, so I kind of do the same thing, but a few other projects because I got to keep my eye on the ball and just do what I do best and just kind of help everybody.
Do you ever get some relaxed time, or you just go 100% all the time?
I'm getting relaxed time now doing this podcast with you. This is relaxation. My daughter's here, my cat's here. When I'm done with this, I got to go back to the academy and teach. This is like when I'm off the court, it's different. Uh, no, fun is what you make it. I couldn't go on a vacation. If I went on a vacation, I couldn't wait to get back. My vacation was going to the U.S. Open, seeing everybody, doing a lot of stuff with Fox News, and doing a lot of media stuff. So this is what makes me happy. And I think in life, you got to do what makes you happy. It's not all size fits one. I don't think a lot of people want to get up at 3 o'clock every morning and run a half mile. It works for me. You know what I'm saying? Or be at work at 5 o'clock. It just works for me. I've been that way my whole life. But I think anybody listening to this, when you have a routine and you have structure, you just keep making it better and better. But I do agree with you. You do need balance. You got to recharge. But when I do come home on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and can just watch TV and relax, that's good enough for me at this stage of the game.
What did you think about the U.S. Open? Was it like it was like an audience record or something? It was packed, from what I heard. Like, how was your experience there? Do you compare to previous years?
Um, it was great. Obviously, I just think Alcaraz is bringing more eyeballs, and I think the Americans, that now it's not just a U.S. Open, it's a U.S. wide open. It's wide open, and I think that intrigue with all the Americans, and then people like myself and others saying, "Hey, they have a shot. They have a shot." And then Djokovic saying, "Not so fast, my friend, not so fast." Okay, they have a shot. And I think all that together, okay, has brought record crowds uh, to uh, to the U.S. Open. And then you got the new sheriff in town, the anointed one, Coco Gauff, and it was just packed. So even though Serena left, and a lot of names have left, the timing couldn't be more perfect with these players that have come in, and they've got even a different charisma, and a different boom, and people love that.
What is your schedule for next year? Are you gonna go to like BNP Paribas, like Indian Wells or something? What's do you usually travel to some tournaments, or you mainly stay running your academy?
No, yeah. Listen, I got to be here. I just want to be here doing what I got to do. I might have to, do a few other things uh, with the docu series and stuff like that, but hopefully everything can unfold here. No, I'll probably go to the U.S. Open. Probably the only time that I would travel, and this depends on really Sophia. Is it going to be 15, 16, 17? When because I'm very confident in her ability. When the time comes, if I felt the time is right and I had to go the French, Australian, or Wimby or whatever, okay, um, just to help springboard her career, because that could be 5, 6 years from now. So I would do that because, like I said, I not only coach this little girl who's like my daughter, I represent her too you know, and she's one of a kind, always smiling, has gratitude, thanks me every day, picks up all the balls. I appreciate that. They've never jumped back in the basket, like in my whole career. I just appreciate that. She's just a great kid. Besides an amazing athlete with unlimited potential. But no, I don't really do any traveling other to my house than to the Rick Macci Tennis Center.
That's great. That's all the travel you need, I think. As
Yeah,
long as
that's
you're
all I
happy,
need.
right?
That's
Yeah.
all I need.
All right, Rick, I'm gonna then let you go because you have a busy day and you probably need to eat and do things that the normal people do, although you're not a normal person, but that's another story.
Yeah, we'll circle back around,
Always.
maybe after the Australian, and we'll just see where we're at, keeping score on this whole thing. And I really enjoyed it, and I like your insight and questions, and we'll keep it rolling.
And I'm very curious about that billionaire thing because I think the mindset thing is also what I'm into. So if you want to plug that or come on to talk more about that when that's more in the production stage, let me know.
Absolutely, yeah, no, that would be great because I'm really excited about it simply because there's a whole clinical thing, behind it. And it just adds even more credibility to all my life experiences on this part of the game. And let's face it, I've been around and fortunate to help mold or be around some of the mentally strongest, unique athletes. You know what I mean? And what makes them tick, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then to have a lot of it backed up from a clinical point of view, I think people will love it. It's a quick read, it's a fast read, but it can be so beneficial and has nothing to do with tennis. It can have something to do with tennis into your mental part of game, but it's everything. And that's why I really like it. And I'm going to do more in this area because, like I said, I'm just as much of a life coach as a tennis coach.
Do you feel like during this kind of project, do you learn things as well, like as you go along, working with other people and getting more into kind of the data and the insight behind this stuff?
Listen, I learn every day. And I tell that to everybody when I do their podcast. I learned today from Sophia. I learned today from this student. I'm learning from you. And listen, if you're not growing, okay, you're not learning every day, no matter what you've accomplished. And obviously, I've had a lot of good things happen to me in my career. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. I always tell that to Meltzer. So you got to try to get better every day. When you think you've accomplished something and you need a pat on the back or you keep looking in the rear view mirror, not good. What am I going to do next? And if you have that attitude before when it's all said and done, you'll look back and say, wow, look at everything that I've done. So yeah, I try to get better. I've learned a lot from Dr. Niva, okay? But I learn from everybody, every parent, every kid. It doesn't matter. But then you got to want to apply it, and I think that's the art of coaching. You know what I mean? Like Richard Williams, the one thing I learned from him I knew when to keep my mouth shut at the right time. So that's a great coach, not saying anything. That's a big part of coaching. Just don't go there sometimes. There's such a medley that I could go through just about how to be a better coach. And when people come here to get certified and they're on the court with me 3-4 hours a day for 3 or 4 days, they're all blown away. Even some of these people that play Grand Slams, they played on the tour, they're good coaches. They're great coaches. They have a great job. They're going, this is crazy, because they see me dealing with a 6-year-old, then the parent, then a beginner, then a great adult, then the number one kid. They see it differently in the way I just kind of bop and weave, the mental, the technical, biomechanics, strategic. There's so many gold nuggets sprinkled throughout the lesson. It's not just like, okay, here's what you're going to do on your backhand. And that's the art of coaching. And so if anybody wants to become a better coach, I do certify coaches, and people are just blown away. Even if it's one day, 4 hours, they'll learn more in those 4 hours than they learned in 4 years.
Do you think that part is so like one part that's so important of coaching is the communication? Like we're talking now, like learning when to listen, when to talk, when to, adapt yourself a little bit to the situation.
No question. And then the communication part, how to say it, when to say it, why to say it, who to say it to, the frequency of your voice, how high, how low, when to get on one knee and talk right into someone's eye if they're a little munchkin, a little peanut. And you got each person's different. There's not a playbook. Anybody that thinks they can go on the internet and become a great coach, you might get more tools. Okay, that's good. Okay, you can read a book, that's good. But being on the court with so many, and listen, no one's been on a court more since age 22 than myself. But then I've wanted to keep getting better, and so I think that's the key, and that's the message I try to give to the world. Okay, if I feel I got to get a lot better, I think they should also.
I think that's a great note to end on, Rick. Well, thanks a lot for your time as always. Always appreciate it. Always fun to talk to you. And whenever you want to jump on, you know where I am. So
All right,
it's great.